What is going on, guys? It is Coaster Jedi back with another countdown. The coasters at Carowinds ranked. So I apologize, by the way, if my voice sounds weird. I have a little bit of a cold, so don't worry about me. That's just what is going to happen for now. So sorry if that messes things up a little bit, but we'll get into this countdown. Carowinds, one of the best Cedar Fair parks out there. I had the opportunity to visit it this year, the first park that I've been able to go to this year, and it was a great park with a fantastic collection of roller coasters. So let's get started ranking these from the worst to the best. And at number 14, we have Wilderness Run, a small kiddie coaster that I did not even see. I believe that you have to have a kid to ride this. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I've heard. So, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. But it's just a little kiddie coaster. It does its job well, so really not much to say about it. At number 13, we have the Vekoma Hang and Bang Kitty Hawk. This is another coaster I didn't get around to riding. The line was actually really long. By the end of the day, it had a longer line than Intimidator, Afterburn, and Copperhead Strike combined. So I just decided to skip it when going through and went for more re-rides on the better coasters. Anyway, I've ridden a clone of this at Canada's Wonderland, and I've heard this one's a lot worse, so that's why I'm just putting it at number 13. I'm just assuming that it would be there. So let's move on. At number 12, we have Ricochet, just your typical wild mouse. There's really nothing to say about it. It's just your average wild mouse. It's not a bad ride, but it's also not really that great or enjoyable. It does get long lines, though, and the operations moves very slow. So I'd suggest getting this done towards the beginning of the day and getting it out of the way. Number 11, we have the most boring coaster that I have on this list, Hurler. And this is just a ride that should be decent, but it really just doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't have any forces, it doesn't have any airtime, it's smooth-ish, it's not incredibly rough, it's just boring, it just doesn't do anything. It has so many airtime hills, but it just doesn't give any airtime, which is sad. Honestly, it's wasted potential of a ride. And even though my expectations weren't high for this coaster, it still disappointed me. Starting off the top 10, we have, in my opinion, the best wooden coaster in the park, Woodstock Express. So I actually like this family wooden coaster a lot better than the Kings Dominion version that I rode before. I rode it in the back row and I actually got some nice airtime on both the first drop and the second drop. So if you're looking at riding this for the credit, definitely go back row and you might get a nice pop of airtime here and there. But really, it's just for the kids. It's a small scale wooden coaster, but for what it is, it's pretty enjoyable. At number 9, we have a very basic mine train, Carolina Gold Rusher. Just sort of your average mine train, nothing really special about it. It does have a nice little surprise ending in the end where it drops into a building. That's really the most noteworthy thing about it. It does have an annoying, complicated restraint system where the ride-up has to have everyone put their hands up so that they can put 3 down at a time, which is annoying and really slows down the operations. It was a station wait when I was there, but it took way too long to get into, so that bothered me a little, and that's what I remember more than the actual ride. The ride itself is pretty smooth, it's not too rough, and it's just a classic mine train. At number 8, we have Flying Cobras, the Parks of Vekoma Boomerang. And this is a solid boomerang. It's just sort of your average boomerang, nothing too special. It is pretty smooth, though. I didn't really have a problem with headbanging on this like you might on other boomerangs. It's pretty enjoyable. I really don't have too much to say about it, but it's solid and it's a nice addition to the park's lineup. At number 7, we have Vortex, and a lot of people really hate this ride. I didn't really get the hate for it. I thought it was relatively smooth and somewhat enjoyable and kind of intense. It didn't really have a lot going for it and only had 2 inversions, and it's a stand-up coaster, which is not the most uncomfortable on your legs and feet. But I didn't have a problem with the ride's roughness. I thought it was relatively smooth. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't like the more modern B&Ms, but I didn't have a problem with it. It is sort of a short ride, though. That was my main complaint about it. But in the case of stand-up coasters, sometimes a shorter ride is better than a longer ride. Just saying from the comfortability standpoint. At number 6, we have Carolina Cyclone, an underrated aero looper. I actually really like this ride. I found it to be pretty smooth, to have some good inversions, and to have great intensity along it. Yeah, the drop is tiny and isn't very good, But overall, it's a pretty solid ride. I love the color switching aspect. I think that makes it more memorable and unique. It really reminded me of Dragonfire, Canada's Wonderland, which, if you know me, you know I love Dragonfire. I have a special place for Dragonfire within my coaster lineup. And so Carolina Cyclone, solid ride. I actually want to re-ride on this, but I just didn't have the time to make it happen. But overall, I give Carolina Cyclone a thumbs up. At number 5, we have a very interesting case here in Nighthawk. So a lot of people hate this ride, and a lot of people love this ride. It's sort of one of those polarizing coasters. And to me, I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm a sucker for flying coasters, though, which is probably why I have it so high. I absolutely love flying coasters, B&Ms, Flying Dutchmans, whatever. Although less so the same parallel of Volair, but that doesn't matter right now. That's Canada's Wonderland's problem. But overall, Nighthawk is a very enjoyable, fun flying coaster. It does have some rough moments though, especially when you're pulling into those final corkscrews. That can be painful. I wouldn't say it's brutalizing, but it definitely is not as smooth as something like either a Batwing or a B&M Flyer would be. Also, this was by far the longest wait I had to wait in during my day there, and it speaks to its awful capacity. So definitely try and do this towards the beginning of the day. This also has a lot of downtime, so just be prepared for that when you're thinking about this park. At number 4, we have the park's B&M invert, Afterburn. And I know some people really like this. They find it to be maybe an elite invert. I am not really in that camp. I find it to be very enjoyable, very intense, and very smooth. But it's just too short for me to be considered elite. Sort of in the middle of the pack for me as far as inverts go, but it's really fun. It's got a nice layout. It's very intense, some great positives in and amongst there, and some great inversions. The variety of inversions is really nice. I just wish they would have added a little bit more track to make this a more long and complete ride. At number 3, we have a very fun launch coaster, Copperhead Strike, the newest coaster at the park. Okay, so guys, big tip. Without a doubt, this ride is a front row coaster. You get some amazing hang time over those inversions. All the airtime hills really pop, and it's just so much fun. That JoJo roll is insane. You get some great airtime, some great hang time, and some solid whippy transitions and turns. So other than the launches, which to me were a little underwhelming, but they're not really designed to be intense. They're not really your Storm Runner or Intimate Strata sort of launches. They're sort of more your push launches to get the train going. So not really the strongest game of that, but overall, fantastic ride. Very smooth, very fun. A great ride to just enjoy and to have a lot of fun on. Great airtime, great hang time. Fantastic ride. And the runner-up for the best coaster in the park is Intimidator, the park's B&M hypercoaster. This was actually my 150th coaster that I was able to ride while I was there, and it is amazing. It is fantastic. It's got some great airtime. Every one of those hills sends you absolutely flying. It's very smooth. The trims didn't bother me as much as some people really say. I don't usually get bothered by trim breaks as much as other people do. I don't really notice them. I know some people that really bothers, but I didn't really notice it. Maybe they just weren't running very well while I was there. So, but every single hill gave so much airtime, especially that second hill after you bank right. Oh my gosh, fantastic airtime. I was out of my seat for probably a full 5 seconds. Great. Even though it sort of just has your average out and back hyper layout, it instantly found a spot in my own personal top 10. Great ride. I cannot say enough good things about Intimidator. But even as fantastic as Intimidator is, it still falls short compared to Fury 325, the park's Giga Coaster. And what an amazing roller coaster. Oh my gosh, what a great ride. It starts off with a fantastic drop, especially in the back row. You just get yanked over this thing. It is so much fun. Then you go through some very fun elements. There's some great high up turns as well as some low to the ground turns. You get some great intensity, some great positives and negatives as you go through this. The treble clef is also an awesome element as you turn around and go down a drop. fantastic. Then you start to go into the airtime hills, and you get 3 or 4 nice pops at airtime as you go along. So really, this ride is a complete package. It is so smooth. It has some good intensity. It's got great airtime, and it is just one fantastic roller coaster. Alright guys, thanks for watching my rankings of the coasters at Carowinds. Go ahead and comment your personal top 5, 10, or 14, whatever you'd like to do. Thanks so much for watching and putting up with my sick self. And thank you so much for being awesome. Have a great day.